I think what is important for us, first and foremost in Nigeria, is that we need to have a proper long-term plan, and we should shy away from Ad-Hocism. The problem in Nigeria is that we do too many things on an ad hoc basis, instead of us being very, very long-term with regards to our planning, our agribusiness financing.
Welcome to this interesting edition of the Economy and Politics Conversation. I'm Ottoabasi, Abasiekong. This edition, we're looking at financing Nigeria's development, prioritizing agribusiness. My guest for this conversation is Mr. Adefeko, Director of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs, Olam Agri. It's great to have you on this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
First, let's look at the stats recently by the African Finance Corporation that Africa, majority of its nutrients are imported. And this is not really good for a population that is targeted to be amongst the, in terms of regional population growth by 2050, the major region. And Nigeria is targeted by 2050 to be among the top 3 most populated country in the world. How can we change the dynamics in terms of investment and funding in the whole agribusiness space, which is responsible for feeding the nations?
Well, Nigeria's agribusiness has been hampered by many things, apart from financing. So there's not been too many, I would say, strategic and deliberate efforts to ensure that we have food sufficiency, food sovereignty. But even as much as we try in leaps and bounds to do it, we've been doing it in a rather arithmetic manner, rather than in a geometric manner. And I think what is important for us, first and foremost in Nigeria, is that we need to have a proper long-term plan, and we should shy away from Ad-Hocism. The problem in Nigeria is that we do too many things on an ad hoc basis, instead of us being very, very long-term with regards to our planning, our agribusiness financing. There's a lot of financing there, but there's no handshake, which is to a large extent the problem. And again, budgetary provision too has been very low. The Malabo Convention talks about allotment of 10% to agriculture. But in the last decade or thereabouts, I think the highest we had provisionally for agriculture is in the neighborhood of about between 1.5 and max 3%. And I think that's not good enough. And we need to invest across value chains: storage, processing, logistics, and distribution. We're a large producer of many things: yam, cassava, sweet potato, and the likes. But taking it to that next level, to the industrial level, has been a challenge for us. And that's something I think we need to address. The government has been trying, but they can do more. And the private sector, like I always tell people, is the engine of growth. So there must be collaboration and cooperation. So that is very well needed.
So let's take a look at policy incentives. We've seen recently government saying, for example, cocoa, want to reduce importation, want to do processing and export. We've seen various steps by the Agri Ministry to link water resources and agri activities, user business authorities. We've seen several plans, like you said, we need a durable plan. From the private sector perspective, how do you assess government's policy approach to creating incentives for more private sector investment in agriculture? Olam Agri is a major investor in the
Well, as you know, Olam Agri has been around for about 30 years. Olam started in Nigeria in 1989. And we operate from seed to shelf, from farm to fork. And to a large extent, we add value to a lot of things that we do before exporting. But going back to your question, we need to have an integrated approach. On the part of government, Water Resources Ministry, Agriculture and Rural Development, Trade and Environment, all of them need to work together. Okay? While the private sector will do its bit, government's policy must be consistent. And government's policy must be long-term. Of course, you know that prior to now, and in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s, we had development plans. It will not be a bad idea if you go back to development plans that are 5 years, 10 years, and make sure that the development plans are rolling plans. And government must partner with private sector or organize private sector organizations like the Chamber of Commerce in Asima, okay, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, NECA, Employers Consultative Association, and many others. Because we have the big businesses, the big, large multinationals, okay, but we equally need the smallholder farmers as well to be part of this chain. So, because we need to improve yield, and improving yield requires having good quality seeds. So those are areas we need to invest in, and everybody has a role to play. Government has a role to play, and government's role is enabling, the enabling environment and policy. Policy that's long-term, no policy flip-flops. But when there's no determinable policy direction, the private sector is on the edge, because when you put your investment in it, you're not sure what will happen thereafter. So, and the last time I checked, capital is mobile. But again, you were talking about cocoa, you're talking about cashew, you're talking about sesame. A lot of private sector companies are already doing a lot in that regard. We don't import cocoa, for example. We process and we export. I'm talking about Nigeria as a whole. But you know, the large players, the Cote d'Ivoires of this world, the Cameroons of this world, the Ghanas of this world. At the point in time, Nigeria was number one. But right now, I think we're a distant third or fourth. So we need to just be very, we have aging trees, for example, and aging farmers for cocoa, like in many other agri-commodities. But what we need to do is that we need to invest, but we need to invest long term. So I still stand by what I spoke to. We need to do things long term. We need to eschew Ad-Hocism and be more long term in our approach.
Speaking to research, investment in research, and which is very important. It is research that enhances agribusiness and agricultural activities. How do you assess that, and how is the private sector looking at opportunities to work with research institutes, agricultural universities, just to enhance the research level and improve what you said, yield in seedlings and yield in?
Unfortunately, again, in the 70s, early 80s, our research institutes are doing very well. The NISAs of this world, the NIFOs of this world, you know, the cocoa research institutes of this world. But I don't know, right now, a lot of them not adequate, no funding, or funding is not adequate. The funding they have takes care of only, you know, day-to-day recurrent expenditure. Okay? No money to go into further research. But the private sector is ready to partner with global organizations that can help improve yield. And I think that is something that we need to work on, and something that we need to.
It's a global concern from global reports of hunger in Africa and Nigeria. What must Nigeria do now? What is very critical for us to do now to avoid that situation?
For me, I don't think we have a problem of food security. I think the problem we have is that of food sovereignty. So we need to just invest more in the area of logistics to be able to move agricultural products from the farm to the farm gate. So logistics is very important, because everything we do is based on logistics. That is very key and critical. Processing, very important. Storage, very important. So, and research and development, and training. Okay, training farmers on best practices. So we need to encourage a lot of the farmers to organize themselves into cooperatives, so that you can deal with them as a collective rather than as single units. So for me, I don't think we will have a food security challenge. I think we have a food sovereignty challenge. And I think things are getting better now in terms of everyone going into agribusiness. So people don't call it agriculture anymore, they now call it agribusiness, because agriculture is now a business. It's no longer the agriculture, it's no longer farming. So that's where we are. And I think, like I said, we have a long way to go. But again, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step.
And then going forward, you're also a Pan-Africanist, you believe in Africa being at its position. How can Nigeria be competitive in this AfCFTA era, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and of course, take opportunity of the African Growth Opportunity Act before it elapses? Because it's very critical to be competitive globally.
For you to be competitive, you must have comparative advantage. We have comparative advantage in a few areas. We must latch on that. We don't do enough We don't do enough trade amongst ourselves in Africa. I think our intra-African trade is under 22, 23%. That's very paltry, you know. And all our regional bodies, the ECOWAS of this world, the SADCs of this world, we need to have a proper approach, a proper coordinated approach for us to be competitive. And I think first things first, we need to sell, or we need to export to each other. Country of origin, country of destination, no barriers, you know, because 54 countries trading amongst themselves, you know, and creating hubs in respective areas. I think it's something that we need to take very seriously. So 54 countries trading amongst themselves, bringing to bear the respective strong partnerships, and I think that should work. But another thing is that again we need to be able to move around. As a Pan-Africanist, we need to be able to move around each other's countries. So no borders, no barriers, African Union passport for everybody, so we can move around the continent, like what happens in the EU. So I think it's something that should be encouraged. So we need to first of all be able to move around each other's continent before we now talk about trading amongst ourselves.
This is the outlook for the agri sector, because beyond crude oil, Nigeria needs to diversify its revenue sources. Agriculture, if effectively harnessed, can become that big booster for non-exports.
No. I think we've started already. We just need to be very, 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 very incremental in what we're doing. So, but like I said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. We're doing it, but we need to do more. So the investments we put into agriculture must not be sprinkles. We must put in a lot of money, but we must match that money that we put in with action. So have action plans and make sure that to a large extent we're collaborative in what we do, particularly with the private sector. And I think that's the way out. And I think that's something we should work on. And I think, I always tell people, see you when you get there. Hopefully we will get there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adefeko.
Thank you very much for having me.
Director, Corporate and Regulatory Affairs, Olam Agri, for this interesting conversation.
Thank you very much.
Financing development in Nigeria, prioritizing agribusiness. You've been over the years and strong advocate for agribusiness in Nigeria, and we hope that we'll get the whole policy synergy right so that we can move agribusiness to drive our economy and create opportunities for millions and millions of Nigerians.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. To our viewers, if you want to get further insights on this conversation, visit our website displayed on the screen and follow our social media handles. So we come your way again. I'm Ottoabasi, Abasiekong. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.